Um, yeah, pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you all this morning. Yeah, uh, we, we're really excited to be involved in this process. I think because it has kind of two parts. That one is helping NHS Highland to kind of test and trial the actual process itself. But obviously, we've engaged in the project to try and bring some technology to bear to solve an IoT, an identified IoT problem. So I'm just going to kind of briefly kind of walk you through the project as we see it, and sort of discuss along the way how we think that the documentation and the kind of the whole toolkit kind of fits together with what we hope will be a successful project at the end. Um, in terms of the team behind this particular project, we've been working together with University of Glasgow for some time. So Beringar as a company is essentially a sensors as a service company. We developed our solution, initially prototyped and worked very early with Census and with the University of Glasgow to help us develop our kind of core sensing technology. And actually, one of our really early test cases was asset tracking within a hospital within the NHS Highland estate. So it kind of harks back to something we did very early on in our kind of company development journey. Since then, we've gone on to develop solutions that are primarily used in the office sector, but we also have solutions that are being deployed in the higher education space as well. So in places like the University of Glasgow, University of Amsterdam are using our sensing solutions. So we have this kind of heritage within the business of being a sensor company that has learned to utilize the data to provide business benefit for the end customer. And when we saw the case coming up around monitoring assets, the work that we'd been doing together, myself and Kamar Abbasi at University of Glasgow, around using low-cost tagging and new RFID approaches using machine learning seemed to fit the bill. So I think that we've got a great team here that could deploy something we think is really, really exciting. In terms of, as I said, our background is we're a sensor company by definition. So yeah, we're working a lot more with customers in that environment, but we see asset tracking and new technology like Camer's RFID approach being actually something that could have a direct impact also on our corporate development as a business. So it's important for us. The test bed is important for NHS Highland to test those use cases, but it also helps us to further test and qualify whether this technology is something that could have wider application across our business offering. So in terms of the case itself, we're talking about monitoring asset position, essentially to try and make the use of the assets as efficient as possible. So it's answering very straightforward questions. Where are my assets? What's the use pattern for those assets? And, can I predict what's going to happen next potentially from the data that I've collected? Do I need to maintain my asset? Has it been used? Has it been in kind of regular use? So do I need to maintain it using a traditional maintenance cycle, which might be calendar based, or can I move to something that's more demand led? And then answering the really big question, which is, do I need my asset at all? Do I need the thing that I have this tag associated with? Because if it hasn't been used in a period of time, then there's a question mark about whether it actually should be owned and maintained by the organization at all. The approach that we're taking is, as I mentioned, to use low-cost paper RFID tags paired with RFID readers that have actually had new machine learning algorithms created for them that allow them to detect and identify which of the assets are moving and where they happen to be. So there are, as Lee said, we're still working on the use cases, but broadly speaking, there is the use case around assets within the building. There is a use case around assets that are on the move that may be in a vehicle and traveling between different locations. And then there's a use case potentially that is around kind of missing assets, things that we expect to see, but we are not seeing for some reason. And I think that Francis had a direct kind of case where this kind of surfaced as being an important potential use case. The way that the solution will work is that these paper tags are attached, printed using a kind of a thing that looks like a fairly traditional printer, and they are attached to the assets as stickers. The RFID readers will read them passing underneath aerials at certain points in the building and on the vehicle, and that data will be transmitted back to our back end for us to be able to position the assets on the floor plan of the building or on a GPS, a map using the GPS coordinates. So it's kind of designed from the point of view that this should be something that can be scaled. So we're really kind of considering at this stage things already like the cost of the tags, the cost of the equipment, the challenge of implementing and fitting the equipment to the various parts of the building, the different types of communication technology that might be needed, especially for vehicles on the move where there may not be a constant signal, a mobile signal available to the vehicle if it's kind of moving through an area of poor mobile or 4G signal strength. So those are the kinds of considerations that we're working through, and I think that the documentation and the whole toolkit is designed to force us into considering those things. So it's not just whether the technology works and can do the job, it's whether the technology can scale and do the job across the organization, not just in this use case, but potentially extending out into additional use cases as well. Broadly speaking, I think that the benefits from a use case like this, as Francis had said, need to be kind of quantified in various ways, but I think we can kind of basically break down the benefits of this particular testbed activity to, I want to reduce the amount of time it takes me to find the assets that I have. I know I have it, I need to find it quickly and get it into use quickly. I want to know whether I can actually reduce the total number of that type of asset that I have in circulation. So I can see the demand for a particular asset. Can I assess whether that asset is actually needed in the quantities that I have it? And that has a knock-on to the third benefit, which is that, do I need to maintain an asset? So some of them I might be able to take out of the fleet completely and not maintain them. Others I can maybe reduce my maintenance cycle because their use pattern is actually lower than the predicted use pattern on a calendar basis. And then there's the benefit of looking at this as a scalable technology that could be applied to more challenging or different use cases. So can I apply the same processes that I've just adopted for monitoring, hard assets, equipment that is being tracked? Can I apply the exact same process to other pieces of equipment, other assets, or other processes that I have within my estate? So I think that the benefits of this approach, taking this kind of testbed approach, is it allows us to fine-tune the answers to these questions to really arrive at a scalable solution, hopefully, that can be rolled out across the estate for the core use cases we've identified, but more appropriately, something that can actually be expanded to these other use cases, so that these hard-won gains in terms of developing the processes can be applied as quickly as possible to as many use cases as possible. So yeah, I think that's really what I wanted to sort of cover there, Lee. I hope that that's sort of given a flavor for what we're doing in terms of the project, and yeah, I'd be more than happy to take any questions during the Q&A.
That's great. Thanks very much, Mark. Yeah, hopefully it'll be an exciting project we'll get our teeth into. So yeah, looking forward to it.